Welcome, friend, to the Wellspring Green podcast. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Earth. Welcome home. We've been here before, of course. Don't you remember? Many times at many places across many lives, we've been here before on Earth. Or had we forgotten? Don't we remember the deep lives before us? The deep lives even now within and around us? The billions of years of swimming in warm oceans? The welcoming first breaths emerging from the sea? Inching, crawling, climbing within vast, lush forests. Being and becoming within vast, lush forests until we were born on two legs towards golden savannas where we grew to walk far, very far. The evolutionary past where we traveled far, and yet still it was in our budding minds that we traveled even further. Further than any of our ancestors had gone before. Don't we remember those early days? Deep within us, don't we remember how we hunted and gathered and sat around pungent campfires, sparking up stories so powerful that they shaped us, and in return, we shaped the world. And what about the here and now? Don't we remember being here in the present, moment by waking moment, alive upon the vibrant earth? This miraculous moment of ever-emerging biological life. Countless beings always in the process of becoming. Here we are within the pulsing web of energy and ecology that sustains our bodies and minds. Here we are filled to the brim with living waters that imbue and flow within our pumping lifeblood. Yes, sadly, sometimes it's easy to forget we are naturally here in this present waking moment. Here where our bodies are. Here where even now materials and energies are flowing within and without us, unfolding down from the planetary magnetosphere all the way up to the pulsing glucose, fueling our brain's very awareness of this living present. In being mindful of the infinite present, we may also be mindful of the past. That is to say, conscious of how we arrived in this moment. We may locate ourselves in the old story leading up to our arrival here as lucid living beings gazing back upon the unfolding universe. On this day, we are upright hominids. We are sleek mammals with beating hearts and minds that have managed to graduate to a more complex form of consciousness. We humans, along with all the other critters on this good green earth, we are naturally this moment's manifestation of billions of years of evolution. And yes, we already know how this story begins. We already know the science that long before us, in the very beginning, there was a very big bang. And through billions of years of cosmic clashes, by some miracle in the endless void of turbulent celestial bodies, within a small shelter of rock called Earth, by some extraordinary combination of material matter, biological life first emerged. Our noble ancestor, simple though in form, was still no less the great catalyst that sparked up the flame of life on Earth. A fire that flickered and shifted and grew. Life didn't just live, you see, it changed. This was the beginning of a process known to us as evolution. The perpetual blossoming of transmutating energized matter into an endless tapestry of dynamic organic forms. From the first improbable single-celled organism to the abundant global biosphere of today, we know too that the fruits of the good green earth have grown over time. Many holy kingdoms have grown strong upon these fertile lands. The kingdom of Protista, the kingdom of Eubacteria, the kingdom of Archaebacteria, the kingdom of fungi, the kingdom of Plantae, the kingdom of Animalia. dazzling creatures everywhere, filling every conceivable niche and inventing an endless variety of forms, patterns, and lifeways. Nature abounds with artistic masterpieces. Even within our own kingdom, there have been so many honored forebearers. Fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammalian species by the million until one particular hominid emerged. Our organic life on Earth is a miracle we can often take for granted, especially within an unfulfilling, grinding, domineering, and destructive industrial society, where perhaps we are disconnected and worn down, or worse, where perhaps in the pain of it all we may become filled with despair and cynicism, where perhaps we may feel climate anxiety smothering our hope for the future. So how important it is to begin by just remembering being here on the good green earth. How reviving to recall that on this astonishing, enlivened planet, that we are the animate universe gazing gratefully back upon themselves. Remembering that here, in the vitality of living nature, that we are entirely whole and entirely right where we belong. Yes, perhaps we had forgotten to know ourselves as manifest consciousness of the material cosmos. The truth that we emerge from the raw building blocks of creation to be born into an earthly existence of wokeness. And how good it is to be woke. How lovely it is to embrace the critical thought and modern science that echoes what we already intrinsically know. The profound interconnectedness of nature's union. The deep time in history, from the Big Bang all the way up to the boundless buzzing tropical canopies that are in this very moment respiring along each breath we take. The food on our plates and the lands upon which we live and the art from a painter's hand and the love in a mother's eye, nature is everything. For we are here in an animate universe of interrelationships. Energy weaving matter, weaving energy, always endlessly expressing into unique patterns. From every lovely scale of every lovely fish to the kaleidoscopic microbiome that's currently composing most of the DNA in our own bodies, nature's creation never ceases. Here we have located ourselves, and we now begin to remember the deeper story. The story that science reveals in its own ways. The real story of our world and our lives within it. The simple truth that we come from mud to become living flesh and blood. The truth of our transcendence. The truth that we are the very geology of this planet made animate. And not just enlivened, but ceaselessly recreated into an endless series of organic forms spun across a web of interwoven harmonious patterns and ecologies upon which we all miraculously connect into vibrant living beings. Here within the good green earth, welcome. Yes, perhaps sadly we can forget being here on planet Earth. The real world we never left. A reality of organics and thermodynamics. The real material world and not whatever has occupied our attention on a screen. Not shiny distractions and not algorithms, nor celebrities or media frenzies. The real world isn't digital or pop cultural or your job or social media. Reality is metaphysical in ways we don't fully comprehend, sure, but is also known to us in ways that are as intimate as the back of our own hands and the insides of our own minds. That's the funny thing about the universe. Though we humans have learned a great deal, there is still so much more to learn. We hominids, standing tall and walking far, not flawed, for how can any creature of nature be flawed or perfect? But we humans, intelligent though we may be, we sadly have been terribly distorted and distracted by our own artificial constructs, be they cultures or economies or technologies. But of course, the real world is that of water and air, plants and animals, bones and blood. The real world is the inhabited landscape where each day's sunset is uniquely cast upon the swirling scarlet confluence of ever-changing clouds. The real world is the ecstatic shifting intersection of hydrospheres and thermospheres and geospheres and biospheres, moving biospheres that manifest each day in the actions of living beings. Science reveals the realities of the natural world, physics, chemistry, biology, evolution. Real relationships, real interactions, real outcomes, and real consequences. Real outcomes. Outcomes like climate change. You already know that. Real consequences. Consequences like pandemics. You already know that too. The trick is we need to accept the reality of the natural world. The reality that no matter how rich and powerful a person is, they may be quickly dispatched from the world of the living if suddenly struck by accident or disease. The reality that we are utterly reliant organisms, wholly conditional upon the environment's continued generosity. The reality is this, that we are inseparable from nature. We are nature and they are us. Our bodies emerged from the good green earth and our bodies never left. We are all natural beings within this world's global ecology, and science restates what indigenous cultures have always known, that our long bodies extend across the tapestry of relationality, to the highest mountains and the deepest seas. From the food we eat to the air we breathe, this is all nature. Welcome. Sometimes it's good to step outside our own perspectives as individuals. Sometimes it's also good to go even further and step beyond the human perspective. But we need to accept the reality of nature. Not just in our rational minds, but in our psyches too. Fully accept nature in our hearts and souls. It is a folly to think we are separate and above all the other creatures that collectively make up this living earth. And that cultural paradigm has indeed led to many of today's problems. We humans, smart and special sure, but also easily seduced. Our problems stem from our distractions and arrogance and greed and moral bankruptcies. But remember that humans are not broken. We are not irredeemable, nor are we unchanging. We are simply but one humble species of creatures among an immense community of more than humans, beings and non-beings, binaries and non-binaries, energies and patterns, a worldwide web of ecologies vastly greater and more powerful than we can ever fully comprehend. Sometimes it's helpful to take a less anthropocentric approach to thinking. It can be liberating even. Seeing us humans as the center of everything is just such a limiting way to look at the world, don't you think? What can be rewarding, nourishing even, is to broaden our perspectives, to remind ourselves of our connection to this indomitable earth. How fulfilling it is to cultivate our relationships. How lovely it is to revel in being a part of this all-powerful planetary force that has prevailed over every conceivable cosmic obstacle and is in this very moment absolutely abloom with endless benefactions. The everlasting earth, positively bursting with beautiful gifts of vivacity. Welcome. How do we even begin to understand and comprehend this world-changing phenomenon called life? What is the source and direction of this miraculous, transformative process? How best to conceptualize this intelligence, this supernatural force of creation which underlies and unites all living beings? One interesting idea you may have heard of is the Gaia theory. Gaia theory at its core is the idea that the whole Earth may be thought of as one giant self-sustaining superorganism. A superorganism upon which we are all different bodily actors. Gaia grew from their infant single-celled conception into the mature form of the present day. The personified body of Mother Earth. An impossibly verdant cornucopia of inhabited landscapes. A body of global forests and oceans of algae that breathe like lungs. A body wherein rich, diffuse seas osmose to deliver nutrients about her pulsing globe. Just as our own bodies grow and maintain themselves, Gaia's body also seeks homeostasis. In living Gaia, the diffuse amalgamation of vital planetary forces collectively seek to maintain an ideal global temperature. A world ripe with the conditions of many temperate and stable climates wherein the very most of their creations may emerge. Recent science has confirmed that Earth has regulated their own temperature over millennia. And like us, Earth the superorganism has a body that ceaselessly endeavors to maintain balances for good health. Good health for the perfect global temperature. A world of tropics and polar ice caps. A world as broadly suitable for as many types of beings as possible. A world with unlimited changing landscapes and an endless potential for creation. Gaia's body is the evolved and fully realized network of positive feedback loops that collectively seek to produce a sum of parts that is far greater than the whole. Nature. Gaia is a place where biodiversity and complexity and creativity are maximized. Gaia is the united ecology of relationships and structures that are in this moment currently acting upon the global climate to maintain the ideal conditions for life. Gaia is the meta-intelligence of collective sentience that gave birth to everything in our world. Gaia is the place where life begets life. A profoundly sacred place. Welcome. The name Gaia comes from the Greek goddess of earth, but that's just one name for the great pluralistic united wholeness for creation. This Mother Earth who has gone by so many names and so many tongues. Mother Nature, the divine creative force underlying everything and expressed fruitfully through the phenomenon of biological life. But whatever the name we may choose for the earth, the language is always the same. The language all beings share. Earth is speaking to us. Earth is speaking to us in a language beyond words. Yes, the earth speaks, and as we as a people come to remember this ancestral language, that is to say, as we improve our awareness of nature's reality, we may better understand the signs telling us which way to go and how best to live. If we learn to listen, we may find that Earth is always showing what's right and good and necessary. So too, by cultivating our connection to the natural world, we may become more conscious of the urgency of their messages. Nature is always speaking to us, in a language beyond words, in a language that preceded human words. The charge you feel before a storm, the enticing colors of the flower, the summer days that keep getting hotter and hotter. Nature is full of signs, full of signals, and full of lessons for living well. among indigenous cultures and people who live close to the land. Understanding these signs and communicating with the land, maintaining respectful mutual relationships with the land, it's of paramount importance. And it helps to ensure sustainable, successful lifeways. Yes, nature is full of signs. Climate change is the biggest sign of all. And when you think about it, climate change is Earth, the superorganism, practically screaming at us humans to get our act together. Climate change is Mother Nature's body raising a fever to stave off a virus. After all, a changing climate is simply Gaia's global system seeking balance. Thermodynamic changes playing out across a web of actions and interactions and relationships, often, sadly, to devastating effect. Yes, Mother Nature ceases speaking to us. If only we have the ears to hear it. If only we have the wisdom to act upon it. And if only we have the strength to bear the struggles along the way. But gratefully, just as nature always offers signs, so too does she offer nourishment. So too does nature bestow vitality. So too does the good green earth generously pave the path to prosperity with magnanimous endowments for the future. Abundance is the will of Mother Earth, and nature always wins in the end. That's right, though it may be hard to see, nature always shows the way. And though it may be hard to hear, Earth is always speaking to us. And though it may be hard to believe, Earth's future ain't just bright, it's practically bioluminescent. Now, you already know the terrors of climate change and pollution and ecocide. The horrible and unjust sufferings wrought across the world to humans and non-humans alike, especially in the global south and especially in marginalized communities everywhere. We already know and experience the challenges of late-stage capitalism and the evils and poisons and misdirections it manufactures. We already know the dark history of human civilization, the patriarchism, racism, colonialism, slavery and wars, and countless terrible happenings that have led up to the modern day. And though we've come a long way in modernity, we know too that we still have serious problems and persistent evils, both in the immediate present and so too on the stormy horizon. Now, you already know and live all these horrible things. As terrible as they are, as real and as pressing as they are, as traumatic as they are, here we will take a moment for self-care. Here we may enjoy a green reprieve from the many challenges and uncertainties of this modern world. Here we may be environmentalists, and so too may we celebrate and smile as we tell ourselves of all the good things on earth. Because this podcast is for telling stories. Stories for remembering where we are and who we are, but also telling us the stories of where we may go. Telling the real stories of our world's past and present, and telling the stories of what our world may become. That is to say, what the future may hold. Welcome to Earth, friend, our home and family. Modern life distracts and subverts us from fully arriving here in our hearts and minds. In particular, modern Western culture is powerfully inhibiting us from knowing ourselves here in the living world. In ways both large and small, cultural paradigms keep us ignorantly enfeebled. For many folks, it keeps us physically removed from nature. So too do modern technologies and algorithmic social medias distract us under spells of digital immersion and consumerism. We humans didn't evolve brains to withstand the never-ending bombardment of TikTok. So too does our modern capitalistic system isolate us from communities. It isolates us from both our human and more than human communities. This system of exploitative industrial capitalism works to deprive the support of our communities, and critically, many people are deprived of nature's essential nourishments. Nourishment from clean air and clean water, natural food, normal, stable lives with friends and family. For most of us, our minds and bodies are largely removed from wild spaces, from land and sea, life and death. Modern civilization is endlessly attempting to separate and subjugate nature, and tragically, culturally our civilization has been largely successful at psychologically severing us from nature's reality. So what a relief it is to know that our bodies never truly leave nature. The simple but profound empowerment of just being here, in this present moment and place, of living reality. We are nature and nature is us. Within every fiber of our being, the living earth is our past, present, and future. How lucky we are to be alive and experience all that this life offers. How lucky we are to be alive to savor the flavors and feast our luminous eyeball organs upon these fabulous displays. The shimmering splendor of the hummingbird's iridescent feathers, the effortless precision of the lithe muscles of the pouncing tiger, the unquenchable allure along a lover's soft curves. Biological life is transcendence. What a gift to be awakened from the star stuff of the universe. What a gift to be awakened to lucidly perceive this incredible earth festooned with artistic beauty so sublime it's well beyond the words we've yet invented to even begin to try to describe. And of course, we must recognize our wonderful, generous, more than human community. So many cousins and friends to appreciate and convene with. Thank you, forests, for purifying the air and storing carbon. Thank you, fungi, for lending us your sustenance and medicines. Thank you, animals, for your support and your loving companionship. So many citizens and participants, so many loyal allies and worthy contestants within the democratic ecology that is living nature. It's true we environmentalists often think about how we're affecting the earth. But perhaps we don't often think enough about how the earth is affecting us. It can help to connect. Feeling connected with nature and understanding the real stories of our vast interrelated living world can help give us perspective and guide us through the challenges, grinds, and blandness of this modern life. This is not to dismiss the horrors that climate change and capitalism loose upon the world, but to help us contextualize, heal, and affirmatively envision a better future. Being in relationship and understanding with the environment has always been the fundamental method for good living since long before even the first modern humans hunted and gathered hundreds of thousands of years ago. This connection is fundamental for all beings. It's wonderful to be an environmentalist, but it's even better to bond with the environment. There's a divine strength there. Nature's union is an unlimited reservoir of power and possibility. To connect with the environment is to harmonize with an almighty force of infinitely interwoven energies and ecologies of the many lands and seas of this great earth. A material world that, when properly attuned to and aligned with, lends its powers to those who seek to live and live well. For all beings that have ever been, alignment with nature has been the key to good living. After all, ecological values have always been wise strategies for success, and always will be. That's why it's called sustainability. Now we begin to see the full story of evolution. The story of overcoming hardships to live different and better. The story of changing to improve ourselves and the lives of our kin. The story of evolution reminds us that though there will be pain, though there will be suffering and death, the course of our world is the story of progress over impossible odds. Evolution, through living nature, is the ceaseless overcoming of all challenges and limitations towards achieving a more vital existence. For what is life on earth if not a triumph over struggles? Life's very beginning started as a miracle, which then again and again succeeded and even thrived despite solar cataclysms, asteroid bombardments, endless ice ages, and baking atmospheres. Tens of millions of years ago, within sweltering jungles upon continents we wouldn't recognize, beneath atmospheres with twice the CO2, life was teeming and undaunted. There's a fire within this world. Both literally and metaphorically, there's a fire within this world. We begin to understand that nature was born in the dark. Nature clawed their way back from the Denovian mass extinction, the Permian mass extinction, the Triassic mass extinction, and so on. And we begin to remember that that which is sustainable is successful. That which is sustainable is successful. We who are sustainable will be successful. For nature cannot be overcome. Nature cannot be mastered. Nature cannot be defeated. Behold Earth, the unstoppable source of creation. A divine process that we are so gratefully fortunate to be a part of. Welcome. Each day the eternal Earth emerges, always in the process of becoming, always in the process of growing. And one of Mother Earth's children, the humans, in fact, they are stronger and more resilient than they may realize. And each day they are becoming wiser and more tenacious. Perhaps we humans may not know our own story within this greater narrative. The millions of years of striving hominid ancestors. The millennia of Neanderthals and Denisovans and many more distant cousins long since gone. The supervolcanic eruption of Mount Toba 70,000 years ago that nearly wiped humans off the face of the earth, but in the end just made us stronger and smarter such that we emerged from the ashes to explode across the face of the earth. Hadn't you heard our story before? Yes, we must spend more time here in the real world, the real ongoing story of life on earth. The real ongoing story of life on earth. We must locate ourselves and remember where we are and who we are. Each of us participants in this indomitable, paradigm-shifting, world-changing force of nature. In our hearts and minds, arriving here, in our psyche and spirit, here within our sacred home, so filled with love, so filled with gratitude, so filled with potential, a bright green future blooming ahead of us. A bright green future blooming ahead of us. We already have a lot of apocalyptic, dystopian stories in our culture. Why shouldn't we play around with some utopian stories for once? After all, have we even considered what we want our future to look like? For both ourselves and for our society and descendants. What if we succeeded beyond our wildest dreams? What if to our surprise we triumphed over today's challenges and soared emphatically into an ecotopian paradise so sweet that we positively rain prosperity down across the world? Can we begin to imagine a green victory? A victory so complete that one day our carefree solar punk grandchildren will look back on today's age like we look at the Great Depression. A victory so triumphant that one day they'll look back on the present day as we view medieval times. A green victory is a future where all of the earth's beings are free and prospering and where justice is done. For we know that environmental justice is inseparable from our many human injustices. We see that the mission of restoring Earth is the mission of restoring ourselves, is the vehicle for victory over fascism, racism, patriarchy, and exploitation and domination in all forms. A victory where land is decolonized and restored back to its people, black, brown, indigenous, humans and non-humans, animal people, fungi people, plant people, mountain people, water people, actors and persons and communities everywhere with their sovereignties respected. In the green future, all kind of folk across this wild world will live well under one crystal clear blue sky. We'll have so many dang carrots there won't be much need for sticks. Can we just have some fun imagining? Imagining a green victory that restores environments and ecosystems and communities everywhere. A future so richly realized that one day our beaming descendants will make blissful pilgrimages to the towering shrines of reforestation that we planted as saplings not all that long ago. A future where our grandchildren's grandchildren will know in their bones the greatness of their earthly heritage when they behold swelling herds of bison thundering below the white-capped peaks of growing glaciers. A green victory where the pollution of our lands and seas, bodies and minds is finally and fully made obsolete. A future where we vanquish all those who would seek to subvert and subjugate free living beings. A future where ignorance is defeated and the weeds of hate are finally and fully uprooted. Ooh, buddy, that's a shade of green you ain't seen before. If that sounds outlandish to you, if you harbor your doubts, even if you like the sound of green victory, don't sweat it. Just enjoy the vision. But also remember nature's purpose. Nature's purpose to fill the universe with beautiful things. Remember nature is ceaselessly striving for abundance. And remember, too, that nature always wins in the end. Remember that Earth is the ultimate source of miracles. If a green victory sounds far-fetched, remember the power of stories. The stories that got us here. The stories we tell ourselves. Stories of meaning and purpose. Of belonging and redemption. What new stories will shape the course of our lives and future? Stories are the most powerful adaptive behavior we humans possess. Biological evolution may take thousands of years, but our stories can evolve practically overnight. Culture, values, human advancement, it all follows the stories we tell ourselves. So let's take this story a step further. Think ecologically. What if climate change, environmental degradation, and global pollution? What if these negative effects may also be the vehicles for the systemic changes that we humans need to make in ourselves? What if the terrors of climate change also conversely hold the seeds of change necessary for the enlightenment of our civilization? What if the hardships of the climate crisis, horrible though that they are and will be, ultimately prove to be the impetus for an enormous advancement of human lifeways? After all, if climate change never existed, the evils of exploitation, oppression, and fascism would still surely be clawing for domination. So what if climate change can in fact become the catalyst by which we succeed in the total and complete liberation of Earth? What if when the pollution gets bad and the seas rise and the wildfires rage, the people finally stand up and say enough? What if when the equality reaches a breaking point and the suffering boils over, the whole system gets turned on its head and we change everything? Now we're beginning to think ecologically. Now we're beginning to see how this all fits together. The terrible pressures of the climate crisis are the same forces that steer us ever closer to gaining power of a new chapter in this story. The power to change the world. Call it a cultural evolution, born of hardship and necessity to adapt and survive in a changing and challenging world. One day soon, the people will finally and fully turn to environmentalists for answers. And we'll be ready. The time may not be fully ripe yet, but it'll be here before we know it. Our opportunities will come, and soon. Watch for it, friends. Yes, it will get harder before it gets easier, but soon there will be a great restoration of balance. Balance in all things, just as nature always intends. For the revelation of nature is also the revelation of a shared moral vision. As nature's garden offers bodily sustenance, so too do they offer the ultimate blueprint for a prosperous and fulfilled society. Earth's ethics are plain to see, starting with the absolute righteousness of clean air and water, all the way up to the sanctity and importance of diversity. Where one sees green, one may also see the values of virtue and justice. Nature is the ultimate manifestation of all that is good and loving and right. Earth is more than a planet. It's a North Star. It's an absolute truth in a human world of so many distortions and distractions. When we put down our phones and look around, we may find this existential certainty. It's as natural as can be. One day we'll be feasting with friends under shady trees and raising toasts to all the new baby polar bears getting born. One day we'll drive EVs through the purple mountain's majesty above the fruited plain of shining solar arrays. One day in 2062 we'll look up admiringly at old-growth trees that were but saplings when we were young, and we'll think, my, how you've grown. One day we'll smile when commonplace biomedicines relegate the diseases of our youth to ancient history. Oh yes, and one day we'll casually forget to marvel as we pass great new machines staunchly pulling carbon out the air by the metric crap ton. Oh, we're playing the long game here. And though in the future our tech will be super advanced and green, it won't be tools or policies at the heart of this revolutionary world. Though we'll have AI and robots and unlimited clean energy, none of that will really be at the core of our green victory. It will be our spirits. Good green spirits at the heart of the great revolution that restores the integrity of life on this profoundly sacred earth. Now we've arrived at ecospirituality. What does it mean to be an environmentalist in the 2020s? It means being green not just in our actions, but in our psyches too. Green in heart and spirit. When we talk about spirituality, or whatever you might like to call it, it may conjure up images of feeling woo-woo around a campfire. And while that's cool, the whole of what we may call eco-spirituality is about so much more. It is no less an entire worldview. Spirituality is about feeling and being connected to a greater power. It's about finding meaning and direction in our lives. This spiritual ecology is a way of looking at ourselves and the world and our place in it. Our role for the future. It's about understanding relationships, valuing and respecting relationships, deepening relationships. It's about respecting the dignity and rights of nature, of humans, of all beings. It's about knowing that diversity is the rightful way of things, both in nature and in human society. It's a view that unites the progressive with the scientific with the sacred. A view that links the factual and the moral. It's about understanding our history, our relationships, our connectedness. It's about a dream we have to envision and build and fight for. It's a view that fuels faith. Faith that a better world is not only possible, but it's on the not too distant horizon. Ecospirituality is a way to embrace gratitude and love. For what is life on earth if not the most sincere, most sublime expression of artistic love? It's falling in love with this enchanted earth that is so desperately trying to fill the universe with more lovely things. Falling in love and feeling loved in return. Ecospirituality is a way of looking at the world in manners both large and small. Even when all we can do is just enjoy a short walk in the forest. It's about eating as healthful as we can, taking care of our bodies and living minds. Trying to spend time in nature, exercising, being with friends and family and community, and doing our best to take care of them all. Supporting and respecting neighbors of every kind, voting and doing what we can for participatory democracy, advocating for human rights and dignity, animal rights and dignity, liberty and justice for all beings. It's about eschewing consumerism and unnecessary consumption and needless waste. It's using technology responsibly, controlling the overuse of modern decadence and distractions which are wholly unhealthy in excess. Social medias, intoxicants, escapism, and addiction in so many tempting forms. And what about our media consumption? It's easy to listen to the doomers and their cynical apocalypticism. You want to cut back on the terrible and depressing environmental news? Well, there's good news, friend. Have you heard the good news? This earth brings good news to the universe. The good news that nature will prevail. The good news that life is beautiful and filled with love and that this is an unstoppable force. The good news that all of us shares in this priceless inheritance that is life on earth. What a gift it is to be alive upon this miraculous world. This miraculous world bearing the good news that the bright green future is welcoming us. The good news that life will go on and flourish in 10 years, in 30 years, that in 1,000 and million years from now there will be so many beautiful creatures on earth. The good news that in the years to come there will be a chorus of frogs in the spring, and that there will be growing forests, and the sun will be shining on our faces beneath clear blue skies. The good news about the days to come when we will gratefully bury the ashes of our troubled youth beneath the gathering topsoils of the future. The Western secular notion of evolution we are taught in school can be very limiting when we try to cultivate this connection to living nature. We are taught that evolution is simply random, aimless mutations. And while that's scientifically true and demonstrable under a microscope, it doesn't begin to capture the reasons for the sheer creativity and immeasurable beauty of organic life. The birds of paradise dancing their elaborate mating rituals, and the profound emotionality of whale song, and the technicolor flowers that are practically screaming, "Hey, I'm beautiful, come love on me." The strictly academic notion we've been taught doesn't even begin to capture the direction nature is steering us towards. A direction that seeks the light and strives towards all that is right and true and good and beautiful. Evolution isn't just a theory. Evolution is everything. The reality of awakening and enlivening of consciousness that is biological life. A transcendent and unrelenting blooming of material vitality. How incredibly boring and basic and small to think of evolution as mindless mutations bumbling about upon a mechanical world. How foolish to think of this world as dead materials to be mindlessly manipulated and controlled. Within ourselves, we are nature as we are alive, as we are awake, as we know that this earth is animate. There are many terms: ecospirituality, eco-philosophy, deep ecology, spiritual ecology. There are many subjects you can learn about: animism, pantheism, paganism, shamanism, transcendentalism, and countless other traditional folk and indigenous cosmologies. The hunter-gatherers of old and the many living indigenous peoples of the present have always known deep connections to the lands they live within. For these humans, ecospirituality isn't a matter of belief. It's a matter of reality. But whatever the name, whatever the conception of nature we may hold as humans of modernity, this spiritual worldview is separate and distinct from an organized religion. There's no dogma to follow and no theistic conception of God to obey. One can be an atheist and still be spiritual. One can be non-theist and still venerate this sacred earth. One can acknowledge the terrible happenings of the climate crisis and still find faith. This is where faith arrives. Faith. In the many terrors and sufferings and dysfunctions of our time, perhaps eco-spirituality may offer something meaningful to you. This green philosophy that may help in ways both large and small. Perhaps it may lend some small measure of guidance with eco-grief as well. For there is much to grieve, and there are adversities too numerous to list. We understand the horrors of climate change in our rational minds. But how do we then begin to deal with this knowledge in our hearts? How does one begin to grieve for collapsing ecosystems, for species extinction? You may come to find that eco-spirituality can offer some degree of context, even healing. It can be an outlet for grief and a structure to hold to as we lift ourselves from despair. Nature shows that in this living world there can be no total escape from suffering and pain. And just as surely, all living things too will one day die. One day even this very planet will be swallowed by a supernovaed sun. But perhaps by connecting to creation, it may lend some peace and fortitude in the challenges of it all. Know that this earth may be irreversibly damaged. Though the world of the Anthropocene, the age of humans, may no longer be unharmed, know that nature is still entirely whole. Nature is unbroken. This world is still a paradise, if only we can see it. It may be some light in grief to know that we tread ever onwards towards the realization of justice for the crimes of ecocide. And we'll do what we can to right the wrongs of civilization. That we work each day towards a great reckoning. We won't get there overnight, of course, but in grieving the irreversible losses and dreadful harms, in affirmatively envisioning a better future, ecospirituality can help us find hope. Knowing that when loved ones are lost, that we will be the honored stewards to carry their legacies forward. Knowing that as environments shift and change, this world is adapting and rewilding and growing into a new and more resilient equilibrium. Knowing that there are still so many undiscovered medicines and cures that nature still has yet to reveal to us. Knowing that even as the tides rise, all boats can be lifted. Knowing that the total liberation of Earth is ever ripening towards fruition. This is where faith arrives. Faith. Knowing that this earth will deliver us as she has delivered us around the sun so many times before, Earth will deliver us. Earth will deliver us. Mindful of the past, thankful for the present, hopeful for the future, full of love for nature, full of love for they who have gone by so many names to so many different people. Mother Earth, Pachamama, the goddess, Gaia, and so many more. They who are not a person but a pluralism. They who are not a fixture but a process. They who are we who are all creation. Full of love for all the beautiful critters in the cradle of earth. All the beings that nourish us. All the waters and minerals that enliven within us. All the beautiful colors and movements and sounds and shapes and flavors. All of our family members that support us, past, present, and future. The billions and trillions of beings that will inherit this sacred world after we are gone, may they be blessed as we are blessed. Blessed to be awakened by the good green earth. For to be alive is to be divine. To be a child of Mother Earth's sacred engine of creation is to be perpetually growing. We are ourselves each day and each moment new artistic reformations of nature. And why? Why fashion a world of endless aesthetics? Because Earth loves us. Yes, love. Earth loves us so dang much. Nature is the ultimate product of love. Nature is the giftful art of a loving creator. The very symbol of affection and generosity. Love is the spark that births and nurtures all beautiful things. The love that guides an artist's hand. The love a mother feels for her child. This is where the story of evolution is the story of love, is the story of creation, is the story of growth and progress. All the beautiful beings yet to be born. All the amazing music yet to be made. All the creations this world still ardently wishes to give to the universe. Love is what we're made of. See this abundant world around us and know it for what it is. The ultimate expression of love. And it is wonderful to love the earth. But it is profound when we come to understand that the earth loves us in return. Mother Nature raised us to be strong and sharp, and above all, their most earnest desire is for us to live abundant lives. Earth is a wellspring of love, never-ending love. It's time to remember. For the future is green, friend. For the future is green, friend. The fruit's going to be fat in the trees, and the people going to grow strong on the land. The sun is going to shine and the season's going to change. Yes, the good green earth is changing, always changing. Yes, this world is changing, friend, climate and all, and we will change too. We'll grow. We'll outgrow, in fact. Outgrow our old ways to live better. We shall mature, for we are unfinished, as is the process of evolution unfinished. We shall emerge as the world of creation is still emerging. We shall take responsibility for ourselves and taking care of our great family. We'll reckon with the exploitative capitalism and consumerism and moral shortcomings. We'll restore the global environment such that the resulting superabundant harvests will usher in a green renaissance. Sure, we may not see a total green victory in our lifetimes, but we'll still do what we can to prepare and lay the foundation so that we may hasten the path to victory, so that we may build a better world for ourselves and our children and all that we love. For our future isn't fixed, for how could it be? Our world is always changing, always evolving. Our knowledge is always evolving, as is our human consciousness, as is our human condition, as is our human being evolving. The terrible problems of today's world don't have overnight solutions. This is a multi-generational mission. We won't have all the answers right away, nor the conditions necessary for a greater transformation. But have faith and be ready, for all the while we will be sowing so many seeds for the future. See, this is where it gets big. Much bigger than just reforming our own society. Much bigger than just fixing the climate. This is where we will be called to take a giant leap for living kind. Nature isn't finished growing. Not by a long shot. For once we've restored Gaia to full health, we'll go even farther. Farther than any humans have gone before. And we'll do it because we have come to share Earth's fervent dream. Their dream to spread life and love. Yes, one day, perhaps even in our own lifetimes, life will extend beyond our holy globe's gravitational confines. One day in the not-too-distant future, we will cross the voids of the solar system. Upon pioneering spaceships, we will come bearing fruitful gifts when we finally meet our long-lost brother Mars. We will embark upon the next great work for humanity, terraforming red Mars into a new shade of ruddy green. Upon our brother Mars, we will embark upon the exact opposite of our earthly mission. We will pump colossal quantities of carbon dioxide into the upper reaches of a thin but growing Martian atmosphere, where rising temperatures will begin to melt ice caps frozen for millions of years, and where trickles will turn to floods, and where new oceans will swell warm and deep and welcoming. One day our descendants will take an evening stroll through a Martian garden and look up to marvel at the blues and greens of our sacred home glowing upon the starry sky. May we make our mother proud and not just turn ourselves around, but rise to our divine mission to sow the seeds of life across the stars. Let us be called to action to build the human civilization that propagates life across the galaxy. Our mission and biological destiny, to endow the gifts of life upon ourselves and upon new planets. For yes, this earth has so much still to give. And among the many functions of this superorganism called Gaia, may we prove ourselves to be their reproductive organ. No longer cancerous, but instead fully functioning as intended. May our present day and age be the turning point towards a bright green future on Earth and beyond. May we be the people that found the sustainable civilization that carries sacred seeds to Mars, Venus, and beyond. May we live in reverence upon this good green earth. May we live with gratitude for this sacred worldly existence. May we cultivate an ecological consciousness. May we be the forebearers of a legacy of restored lands and renewed faiths. May we celebrate life on earth. And may we embrace responsibility and work towards redeeming ourselves and righting the injustices of the past and present. May we know in our bones that we are a part of the environment and we are one with this earth. May we know that we are nature's children and we belong here in our sacred home. Bless the earth and all those who walk upon her shining face. May we sow the seeds of the green future so that one day they might emerge as abundances, never-ending abundances. Thank you, Earth, for all the gifts of life. Thank you for joining me, my friend. Please accept this podcast as an earnest gift. I hope you enjoyed. And perhaps it may have lent some small measures of replenishment. If you liked this pilot episode, I'd love to hear from you. Please visit wellspringgreen.com to learn more. Thanks again.